Alright folks, welcome to the middle of day 2. We've got Ed Cook here, the dome expert. He actually built and lived in one for a while.
So, I've been in Carbondale since 1974, and the reason I came here was the man that designed and developed this structure that we're in, and I built one, came down here to Carbondale, put it up, lived in it for 5 years, and then built several others for other people, contracted custom homes for 40 years, and now this dome that Buckminster Fuller lived in is in pretty bad disrepair, and Eric and I are undertaking completely redoing and preserving the interior of this building, and now it's going to be I don't know if it will be on the actual historic registry, but it will be, it's going to be recognized as a historical building, at least, like for certain for here in Carbondale. And there's a non-profit organization that is funding all, this work. And so this is going to bring me full circle.
So today is a day of electrical investigation and planning. We have a good 200 amp service here, and we're keeping this panel, but all of the wiring needs to be replaced, as it's all very old and is not the greatest insulation, and almost nothing in here has a ground or earthing conductor. So all the wiring has to go, but I have to understand it first. To know what everything did, what switches went where, and so forth. And then I have to make a plan, coordinating with the rest of this restoration, for how to most efficiently get new wiring to all of the original locations while doing the least damage possible. The exterior walls were all fed through this conduit here, but it looks very unlikely that we'll be able to reuse any of that, as it's all very rusty, if not broken off, and I don't know if it's even continuous to anywhere and where that might be. So we'll probably have to refeed all of this stuff from overhead and through the walls. So we want to make the best plan we can for coordinating all of the existing holes and holes that need to be made. Like both of these bathrooms need to get ventilation fans, and those have to exit the building somewhere. So there's a duct that has to run across the place and make it outside, and a hole that has to go in the ceiling somewhere, and that decision will be influenced by how it might help us fish the wiring through to other devices in the neighborhood. One specific concern that was just brought up to me yesterday was our architect was wondering what these two switches do at the base of the stairs, and I have figured that out already. Only electrical up here is these wires coming from the bedroom that go to a central hanging fan up here, and then the receptacles in this bookcase. There's one at each end. On there, and all the way over there behind the dehumidifier. Symmetry. And that's what one of those switches does. The one farthest down the stairs. Makes sense. And then the other switch goes to this receptacle right here. Set up for lamps. And the other items We have a phone jack and a receptacle over here. That receptacle is always live. And then similar over here, 2 more receptacles, but that are always live. So that's the upstairs solved. Nice to have something out of the way. That is, of course, except for how we get new wires to these locations, as there is ceiling beneath these 2. These over here, fortunately, this one is directly exposed in our utility space below, and the one over there is visible from that utility space where we just removed the ceiling and through there. So we can reach that no problem. Let's just start by tidying things up in here a bit, to the extent that I know that I can right now. It's 90-some degrees outside, Fahrenheit that is, and so I don't think we're gonna need this boiler for a little while. And I need to rewire this, of course, as this isn't even long enough, and I'm gonna put that in conduit and make it nice, you know. So we can take this big cable out of the way for now. And then this, I don't know where that went, but it's not going there anymore. Oh, turn that off. Verify. 7/10 of a volt, I think I can take that. And the ground. One of the few earthing wires in this building. Oh, actually one of 3 earthing wires in this building, and one of them is to this thing that doesn't go anywhere. The other one is to the range. Yeah, let go of my shirt. Looks like that was to the water heater, which will be a different kind of water heater this time. Alright, now we'll take this big hunk of wire out of the boiler so we can stop tripping over it. And looking around how I get this cover off, just take it off because nobody put any screws in it. I could power my house off the sub panel in this thing. Right, a fresh start. And a pile of hardware. Here's where all the old phone lines come to. Here's the incoming from the pole outside. It goes underground in conduit, it appears. And then I had this additional line just sticking out the cover in here, hanging on the wall, wrapped around a nail. Well, I don't think that's part of the restoration. We'll get that one out of the way so that these others can be tucked neatly into the box, or so neatly. Wow, that thing is still alive. Good thing I decided to address that. Okay, next thing, part of our plan for getting this heat pump into the ceiling in here is to cut away as much of this framing as possible so as not to have to lower the ceiling very much to fit that in there. So I think I'm going to leave about 2 inches of this floor joist up there, and that'll be okay as it's only spanning like 4 feet right now. It won't fall down, and then we'll add some support to that, maybe some steel. We'll carve that away, freeing all of these wires and gradually dismantling this as we make sure we understand it. But then it will allow, hopefully, since we're doing this in this room and in the next room over that way, will hopefully allow me to swing the panel out away from the wall a bit without taking apart this heavy 200 amp service business. It'll allow this conduit to move enough to swing this away from the wall, which is mounted to this sheet of plywood here, and all of the wiring coming into this thing is going through this hole in the back, which doesn't have a proper bushing or anything on it, so something has to be done there. And of course we're replacing everything. I would like to run it in a similar way so we don't have any new things sticking out here that weren't like that before. But yes, I think that may help identify the routing of the wiring and give space to get new wiring in. So, it's always nice to be able to get two birds stoned at once. It's always so helpful when things are so well planned. Two of the cables coming into this box have no purpose in this box. They're just passing through for some reason. This one joined to the other, and all of the neutrals connected together at the receptacle. I wonder what that was about. And a lovely splice too. And now we can remove these two that have nothing to do with the receptacle situation and identify them as such. And this one, I started pulling on it and it just kept coming. There's an extra mile of wire in the floor there. Alright, now that ceiling is ready to carve a space into tomorrow. Yes, the initial stages are slow and boring, but once you've done your investigation and head scratching, and you start to make sense out of things and make a good plan, the apparent rate of progress increases dramatically. So stay tuned for greater excitement. See you tomorrow.